The villain served me like a servant for over a decade. It was only then that I learned that I wasn't his one and only, but rather the evil supporting female character who had stolen the life-saving favor from his true love. Soon, he would meet his true love and then throw me into the sea to be eaten by fish. For the sake of my life, I took advantage of him and then ran away. The day he came looking for me, I had just picked out a few male nannies to take care of my daily life. He closed the door and smiled in a particularly menacing way. How could you be interested in someone like that? Even after the Smith family went bankrupt, I still lived a prosperous life. Before, I had the Smith family to back me up, and now I had Jason to support me. I could act recklessly in the entire River City. On nights when Jason wasn't around, I usually hung out with a bunch of friends, but tonight, I was absent-minded. A pretty good female friend of mine nudged me. Luna, what's wrong? You're usually the one who has the most fun. I casually gulped down a glass of wine, my knuckles turning white. Nothing. Is it about that illegitimate daughter of the Brown family? Don't worry. Jason and her definitely have nothing going on. You're his savior. After all, as long as this relationship exists, you never have to worry. My face turned even paler. Everyone knew that Jason was so good to me because of gratitude. What if I wasn't his savior? Then, I really couldn't drink this wine anymore. So I picked up my handbag beside me, put tonight's expenses on my tab. You guys keep drinking. I'm leaving first. After saying that, I left the bar brushing off all pleas to hold me back. Jason's car was parked in the yard. He was back. As I got closer, I smelled a faint scent of blood. In the dimly lit hall, Jason Saturday on the sofa. A man being held down by two bodyguards was kneeling in front of him and hardly recognizable. The carpet was covered in his blood. Before, Jason never let me see such a scene. I stood at the door with a pale face, meeting Jason's eyes as he held a cigarette between his teeth. He stood up, his features sharp, showing no trace of his former self. He took off his coat, put it on my shoulders, and fastened the first button for me before slowly speaking. Why do you come back? I lowered my eyes. I wasn't in the mood, so I came back. Jason waved his hand, and the bodyguards dragged the man away, who made our young lady angry. I studied his face, trying to find something, but his eyes were as black as night, as if they could suck people in. I pursed my lips. No one. After a while, I was so nervous that I couldn't help but tug at his sleeve. I have something I want to. He interrupted me. Do you know what this man did wrong today? What did he do? Jason played with my hair, his expression indifferent. He lied to me and played me for a fool. What do you think I should do to punish someone like him? My heart skipped a beat, and I held my breath. Jason suddenly pinched my waist. Can you say something about it? I replied dryly. Maybe there is some misunderstanding. It might not be his intention. Jason suddenly let out a cold laugh. I punish him. Why are you so nervous? You still have things to do. I won't be back tonight. Go to bed early. After saying this, he left. I let out a sigh of relief. I never realized how terrifying he was before. After he left, I sat on the sofa, lost in thought. The first time I saw Jason, I knew he was no ordinary person. At that time, the Smith family went bankrupt. My parents died, and my relatives, who used to be very kind to me, suddenly turned their backs on me. I was kicked out of the Smith family, being at my wit's end. Jason appeared, holding an umbrella. He helped me up and brushed the mud off my clothes from when I was pushed to the ground. I looked at him warily. Who are you? What's your purpose? Jason, I'm the one who will be good to you. You saved my life, and I'll make sure you live a good life. I eyed him suspiciously. It was almost winter, but he was still wearing thin clothes. His clothes and pants were washed until they were faded, and there were patches on his shoes. He handed me the umbrella and let me lie on his back. Then his calm voice reached my ear. Don't worry, I'll definitely make sure you live a good life. With me here, no one can bully you. Jason kept his word. Even when we first lived in the slums, he created a comfortable space like a palace for me in that place. He dropped out of school early and went to work on the construction site to support my studies. The people in the slums were mean, but they didn't dare to mess with me because Jason fought fiercely. Almost all the thugs in the slums had been beaten up by him. Over the years, we had depended on each other. I regarded him as my only family. Everyone said he was very good to me, and I was the apple of his eye. Only I knew that I had never really grasped him. He was like the wind, always keeping me at arm's length. I caused trouble both in front of him and outside outside. He silently cleaned up my mess. He would solve problems with money if he could, and if money couldn't solve it, he'd use his fists just like when we first met. He brushed away my embarrassment and say in a calm voice, "I said I'd make sure you live a good life. No matter what you do, I'll cover for you because I'm your savior. You do whatever I asked." Yes, I hated his expressionless face, the way nothing seemed to stir his emotions. So I deliberately said, "What if I wanted you to marry me?" He lowered his head, his expression calm. "I'm not good enough for you. There's no need to get yourself into trouble just to be stubborn." I just had to oppose him. "Since I am your savior, I command you to marry me." Okay, of course, we didn't actually get married, but everyone knew that I was his fiancée, and sooner or later, he would marry me. When he said he'd make me live a good life, he meant it. From beginning to end, he never let me suffer a bit, and I never knew how much hardship he endured. Until one day, the place we lived changed from the slums to a big villa, and he became more and more reserved, and our relationship stopped at being boyfriend and girlfriend. There was no further progress. I couldn't figure out why until today. Today, I finally learned that I wasn't his savior. His savior was the female lead in this world. I was just the evil supporting female character who has stolen the female lead's life-saving favor. I was the character who is usually a bad-tempered, a mean-spirited character in a story, always tries to disrupt the relationship between the main couple. So, there was always a distance between us, because the person he really liked was the female lead, and everything he had would become a help to the female lead. The better he was to me now, the more he would hate me when he found out the truth. According to the timeline, the female lead would return from abroad and meet Jason in just a couple of days, and I, the evil supporting female character who had deceived him for over a decade, would be chopped up and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Thinking of this, I shivered. I didn't want to die, and I especially didn't want to be chopped up and fed to the fish. All my expenses were paid with Jason's black card with no spending limit that I could use freely. He knew where every penny was spent and what it was used for. Fortunately, after the Smith family went bankrupt, I started to consciously transfer some money to my own bank card. Over more than 10 years, I had saved about hundreds of millions of dollars, and Jason didn't know about this card. Even if he knew, since I transferred a small amount each time, he wouldn't care. I carefully put away that card. Maybe it would be my living expenses for the rest of my life. Although I thought about leaving, there was still a glimmer of hope in my heart. Even if I wasn't Jason's savior, considering our years of friendship, maybe he would spare me. I deliberately sent Jason a message asking him to come back for dinner. I hadn't cooked in years, and I didn't know how it would turn out after all this time. When Jason came back, I had just put the dishes on the table. He was silent for a moment and then said lightly, "Don't you have enough money to spend?" I rolled my eyes silently. "I wanted to cook for you. Is that not okay?" He didn't pick on me anymore. Instead, he washed his hands and helped me get the bowls and chopsticks. Seeing him eat, I looked at him expectantly. "How is it?" "It's okay." I let out a sigh of relief. When he said it's okay, it meant it was actually very good. I was secretly thinking about how to test my position in his heart. He suddenly said, "There's a Brown family's dinner party the day after tomorrow. Come with me." I thought of the plot point where the female lead and Jason would meet. The welcome home party for the Brown family's daughter. Jason chewed his food and let out alone. I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. The time had been advanced. The female lead had actually come back earlier. Then what about my identity, wasn't it? "If you don't want to go, you don't have to," Jason said lightly. "Is an insignificant person worth you thinking about so much?" I pursed my lips. "If I lied to you about something very important, would you forgive me?" "Yes," he replied without hesitation. I was anxious. "What if I'm not your savior? Would you still forgive me?" Jason finally lifted his eyes to look at me. "Luna, you know my bottom line towards things. I've never been a nice guy." Indeed, he had never been a nice guy. If I wasn't his savior, he definitely wouldn't show mercy. Fortunately, I ran away fast. After arriving in the new city, I couldn't eat or sleep well. I paid attention to the news about Jason and Lily all day long. I was afraid that they would suddenly come looking for me. In just a few days, I lost 5 pounds, but it was strange that Lily had been back for a few days, yet there was no news in the circle. I didn't know if I had been kicked out of that circle, so I couldn't get any inside information. But knowing that I wasn't Jason's real savior, those sycophantic female friends of mine definitely wouldn't be able to resist coming to step on me. The only explanation was that the current calm was just an illusion. Jason must be quietly planning something important. I waited and waited. I got the news that he was being interviewed. On the screen, the man was as handsome and charming as ever. His Saturday in the middle, his long and narrow eyes slowly lifting to look at the camera. Those eyes seemed to be able to see into people's hearts. My heart skipped a beat. Why did I feel like I was being caught doing something wrong? On the other side, the interview had already started. An experienced host asked Jason a question. Jason, with your success, do you still have troubles? Jason crossed his legs and slightly opened his thin lips. Yes, recently, I lost a cat. I thought she would come back home after playing outside for a couple of days, but she still hasn't returned after 2 days. The host, maybe the kitten got lost and couldn't find its way home. Why don't you post a photo of the kitten online and let netizens help you find it? Jason, I don't have a photo. The host was stunned for a moment but quickly recovered. Then could you please describe what the cat looks like in general? Jason thought for a while. She has a bad temper. You can't say anything bad to her or scold her. She ran away from home at the slightest disagreement. She's pampered and wants the best of everything. She loves beauty and wants to wear the most beautiful little dresses. The host, from what you said, Jason, this is a cat that's used to living in a greenhouse. Why not put the things she likes in the places she often goes to coax her back? I'm sure that since you love your cat so much, she'll come back soon. Jason seemed to be thinking. I was completely confused. When did Jason have a cat? He was so picky that no shedding animal was allowed to enter his house. Strange. It was really strange. What was even stranger was that my friend's circle, which had been quiet for a few days, suddenly became active. A returned jewelry designer I had only met once. Honey, I've designed the pink diamond you sent last time into the finished product you like. When are you free to come and pick it up? The eldest daughter of a top-notch music-related wealthy family who always looked down on me for being empty-headed. Honey, I have a concert tour in River City. I'd like to invite you to come and support me. My favorite niche fashion designer. Baby, the latest design has been released. When are you coming to the store to try it on? A series of invitations came one after another. Although this was just an ordinary part of my life before, wasn't it a bit strange that this happened after I left Jason and he already knew who his real savior was? If I remembered correctly, according to the plot, I should be being ridiculed by people in the circle at this time. Everyone would be watching the joke. It might even be exposed online, and those netizens who love to watch the excitement would directly call me a thief, saying that I stole Lily's life-saving favor. I would live like a person hated by everyone. It was also because of the huge gap between before and after that I would do so many things that made me suffer. But now, nothing happened. It was as if I was still the Miss Smith of the Smith family who could rely on Jason. I began to wonder if I was wrong. Maybe those plots that suddenly came to my mind were just a dream I had. Otherwise, why was everything so different? But I knew for sure that I wasn't Jason's savior. Back then, before the Smith family went bankrupt, I was the only daughter in the family. My family doted on me like I was the most precious thing in the world. I could get whatever I wanted. Every time I went out, I would casually help a few people. At first, I could remember their faces and names, but later, I helped so many people that I couldn't keep track of them all. So when Jason showed up and said I had saved his life and he wanted to repay me, I just took him as one of the people I had helped before without thinking. At that time, I secretly rejoiced, thinking that it was lucky I was beautiful and kind-hearted, and that's why I got such good fortune. Over the years, I ordered him around and played tricks on him without a trace of guilt. That's why I felt so guilty when I found out I wasn't his savior. Now, I could only take things one step at a time. My heart was more anxious than before I left Riverside. After moving to the new place, I stayed at home all day, not even going out the front or back doors. A kind-hearted neighbor thought something was wrong with me and called the property management to check. They found me lying comfortably at home, which caused quite a misunderstanding. I sent the neighbor and the property management staff away, feeling embarrassed. Right then, I decided to stop being so depressed. I started going to the flower shop downstairs every day. The owner of the flower shop was like me. Alone in this city, I would go to her shop and sit for a while whenever I had the time. Gradually, we became friends. Hannah brought over a plate of desserts. This is a new recipe I developed. Try it. I looked around her shop and asked sincerely, "Does this shop make money?" She set her day down next to me, and a whiff of perfume wafted over. "I'm not short of money. I don't care if it makes money or not." I nodded. Maybe she just opened it to kill time. For a while, we sat there in silence, eating our desserts and looking at our phones. Suddenly, she propped her chin up and nudged my shoulder with interest. I can't believe that the Jason group actually partnered with the Brown group. Looking at the phone screen she handed me, my heart somehow settled down, as if everything had finally fallen into place. The Jason group had been almost dominant in River City in recent years. Countless companies were eager to cooperate with it. The Jason Group had its own stable partners, and other companies didn't have much hope. But then, the Jason Group suddenly announced a partnership with the small Brown Group. This immediately caused a stir in the business circle. "Hey, do you think the rumors online about Jason and the Brown family's daughter are true?" "How would I know?" Hannah was dissatisfied. "Aren't you from River City? You don't even have this bit of gossip." I picked up a piece of pastry and stuffed it into her chattering mouth. "Let's just focus on ourselves." When I picked up my phone again, this matter was already trending. Netizens didn't really care about who was partnering with whom. They loved shipping handsome guys and beautiful girls. Guys, they are a real couple. Jason picked up Lily in person when she came back from abroad, and now he's giving the company's cooperation to his girlfriend's company. What else could this be if not love? Is it the land in the east suburb? God, Jason is so generous. That land is worth a fortune. Jason could spare just a little bit of what he has, and it would be enough for me to live several lifetimes. Lily is so lucky to have such a boyfriend. Lily is a rich and beautiful girl herself. Her family has a company, and she also runs her own. She's no worse than Jason. No matter how you look at it, they're a perfect match. They're made for each other. Here's a picture of Mr. Jason giving his girlfriend a seductive look. He's good looking, rich, and spoils his girlfriend. Which direction should I kneel in to get a boyfriend like him? After reading all this, I took a deep breath. Sure enough, no matter how different things seemed, the plot would sooner or later return to its original track. Now that I had finally gotten away from the plot, I wanted to live a good life. I was playing with the flowers beside me without mind, starting to plan how to live the rest of my life. Anna's words interrupted my thoughts. "I didn't expect you to be into this." I was confused. "Into what?" She picked up a business card on the flowers. "Here, weren't you looking at this just now? It says full service, guaranteed to satisfy you." I took it and saw the words Big Bear Residence printed on it, with the smaller text, "The most attentive service for you, guaranteed to satisfy you." What was this? Hannah winked at me. "Don't play dumb. You know it's that kind of place." I immediately understood. She meant it was a place that provided people to take care of others' daily lives, like nannies. I happened to need one, and since it was recommended by someone I knew, it seemed reliable. I put the business card in my pocket. "Thanks." Hannah gave me a strange smile. Before she left, she patted my shoulder. "Sister, take it easy. Don't wear yourself out." I walked out, feeling confused. With nannies to help, how could I wear myself out? These days, I hadn't adjusted well and had just been getting by. Now that I felt better, I thought I'd call some nannies to clean the house. Thinking this, I dialed the number. "Hello, this is Big Bear Residence. How can we help you?" I directly stated my request. "Send over the most capable ones in your place. Money is not a problem." "How many exactly?" "The more the better." I was really stupid. Hannah's meaning was so obvious. Now I was sitting on the sofa, staring wide-eyed at a group of muscular men. Although I used to be a regular at the bar, but because Jason was quite strict with me, I had never hired a guy like this before. Now Now, I really outdid myself by getting a whole group man. A whole group man. These were indeed the most capable ones in the place. They were all very good looking. I mean, who could tell the difference between a handsome professional and a male caregiver? A man in a suit unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of his shirt. Shall we start? A cute-looking guy squatted in front of me, looking at me with his charming eyes. Honey, you can't do whatever you want to me. This wasn't really right. I was the kind of person who had the desire but not the courage. Now my only thought was how to send them away. I was so deep in thought that I didn't notice the sound of a key turning in the lock. Sister, every moment of the night is precious. Let's get started. After saying that, a guy with 8-pack abs reached out to undress me. My eyes widened and my body frowncy, just as his hand was about to touch me. Suddenly, another hand reached out and grabbed his. The man let out a cry of pain. Who are you? Business should be done in order. The person stood behind me, holding me in a possessive way, like a predator guarding its prey. He put his hand on my shoulder, leaned down, and whispered in my ear, his tone full of innuendo. Miss, tell them who I am. With this, they knew right away. They thought it was just a young couple having a fight, and I had hired these guys to make my boyfriend jealous. If they didn't leave, they'd be being unwise. So, in a flash, everyone in the living room laughed. After they laughed, Jason's expression changed immediately. He sat right across from me on the sofa with a cold face. I could feel the chill coming from him even from a distance. I closed my eyes. I knew I had to face this. It was just a bit earlier than expected. So what if I was caught and tortured? As long as I didn't do anything stupid and didn't mess with the female lead, I wouldn't be chopped up and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. You've got quite the nerve, running away from home. After waiting for a while, Jason finally spoke. It's true that I lied, but I didn't mean to. What? I was confused. This was not what I expected. What's the reason for being angry this time? Not even jewelry can't make you happy. He continued. I suspected we were not on the same page, and I had evidence, but I was indeed led astray by him. So you're the one who asked them to send those brand invitation messages these days. Damn it, I thought it was because of my charm. He tapped his fingers on the coffee table twice. So why were you angry? Why did you run away? Damn it, he looked scarier than my dad right now. Well, aren't you missing the point? The point should be that I lied to you. Aren't you angry that you've been fooled by me for so many years? Aren't you going to beat me up? I said what I was thinking. I thought all this was bound to happen, and I had already suffered enough. Hearing this, his eyebrows furrowed deeply. What did you lie to me about? Lily did help me, but it was you who saved my life. I couldn't remember. He started to explain. It turned out that I really saved him by chance back then. I was obsessed with cartoons back then and wanted to be a female superhero who fought evil and protected the good. I would carry a stick around all day and had a group of little followers from the neighborhood. We would go around trying to do good deeds. Once, during one of our acts of heroism, we came across Jason, who was being carried away by a human trafficker and crying his eyes out. According to him, no one believed that the person carrying him wasn't his mother. No matter how much he cried, the people around just ignored him. But I, the fearless little superhero, full of sense of justice, rushed forward with a group of kids. Let him go. You're not his mother at all, I shouted. The human trafficker tried to argue, but I interrupted. How dare you lie in front of a superhero? Heroes, let's capture her. So, we kids managed to save Jason, but actually, it was mainly the bodyguards sent by my family to protect me secretly who did most of the work. I still wasn't quite convinced. Are you sure you didn't remember wrong? Maybe it was Lily, Jason said expressionlessly. No, because you sat on the little superhero Luna Smith, who lives in the Smith family compound and goes to the small class in spring but kindergarten. Don't take it to heart that I saved you today. There's no need to send gifts to repay me, especially snacks. You repeated this to me 15 times. When he said this, I vaguely remembered at that time my family was very strict and didn't allow me to eat snacks or street food, but I really loved snacks, so it was very likely that I did what he said. Thinking of this, I coughed in embarrassment. So it was all a misunderstanding. So you ran away because of Lily, he said straightforwardly. Not really. I twiddled my fingers awkwardly. Those fleeting words seemed so real. Both the plot and the characters seemed to be developing according to what was written. I just didn't expect that everything would change after I left. As Is it because of this? He threw a book on the table. I took a look and realized it was the novel. Mr. President, stop torturing me. Your wife has died long ago that I had read. I quickly picked it up and opened it. The content was exactly the same as what I remembered. The evil supporting female character stole the female lead's life-saving favor, acted recklessly relying on the villain's support. After finding out she wasn't the villain's savior, she attacked the female lead, did all kinds of bad things, and finally, when the villain ran out of patience, she was chopped up and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. The process was really tragic. Although I knew I wouldn't attack the female lead or do those bad things, I still didn't trust human nature, so I could only choose to avoid the plot. I was the only one left in the Smith family. I couldn't afford to die easily. Jason knew me so well. Seeing my expression, he knew he was right. He was so angry that he laughed. You actually believed this ridiculous novel? I couldn't help but retort. Just tell me if what's written in it is true. Here are my words. Jason snatched the book and opened it. Looking at the smile on his lips, I felt he was up to something. The book says you are not my savior, but you are. It says I'll get someone to deal with you. Sorry, I'm not that low class. It says you've done all kinds of bad things, but you're the girl I raised. I know your character. You definitely wouldn't do bad things. Even if you did, there must be a reason. Finally, it says I'll chop you up and throw you into the sea to feed the fish. But this is a society ruled by law. I'd be in jail before I even had the chance to chop you up. He makes so much sense. This was a society ruled by law. Unconsciously, I sat her day up straight. Besides, there's more wrong with this. The book says you never liked me and only like my power. Luna, do you think it's lying? He said slowly, trying to guide me. I pouted and said, yes, it's lying. How could I not like you? After saying that, I realized something and my eyes widened. Ew. He looked innocent. Me what? He was so shameless. I never knew he could be like this before. He put down the book and regained his composed look. Now that the misunderstanding is cleared up, Luna, don't you want to explain those guys tonight? He was smiling gently, but to me, it was scarier than when he wasn't smiling. It was all a misunderstanding. Yeah, I believe you. Not likely. Men who have had a taste of passion are really scary. The next day, I lay limply in bed, not wanting to move a finger. Jason, looking satisfied, was already arranging our return trip. Seeing how energetic he was, I got annoyed and couldn't help but kick him. But he caught my foot. Are you awake? Do you want to rest some more? I struggled to get up, looking fierce. No, I feel like I can't fight a bull. His eyes narrowed and his hand went to the buttons of his shirt. Anyway, the flight is at night. How about we do it a few more times? Hearing this, I quickly shrank back, only showing my big black eyes. No need. This was exactly what they meant by all bark and no bite. Jason was very busy at work. In just one night, he had already piled up a lot of work. From the moment he got up until now, he had answered countless calls. I clicked my tongue. He was really hardworking. Fortunately, all I had to do was spend money. After he left, I didn't lie down again. Instead, I got dressed and went to the flower shop downstairs. Hannah whistled as soon as she saw me from afar. Wow, sister, you're amazing. It looks like you had quite a night. I gave her a dirty look. I thought it was an agency that provided nannies. Hannah rolled her eyes too, but she still went for it. He's my boyfriend. Her eyes lit up in disbelief. You became boyfriend and girlfriend in just one night. This was so hard to explain. I suppressed my urge to get angry and said directly, I'm going back to River City. She became serious. So soon? Don't you want to stay and play for a few more days? The house needs its mistress. I'll come back and play with you later with her. Before I could say anything, someone answered for me. Jason walked in from the door and put a pink coat on me. You're wearing so little. Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? I whispered. The air conditioner is on. Hannah couldn't stand it anymore. Can you two tone me down? There's a single person here. Jason turned around, acting politely. Thank you, Hannah, for taking care of Luna. There's something in here that you might want. He pushed over a document. I curiously peeked at it but had no idea what it was. Anna opened it, and the corners of her mouth couldn't stop rising. Her attitude changed immediately. It's nothing. We just hit it off. You two haven't seen each other for so long. You must want to catch up. I won't disturb you. After saying that, she left happily, holding the document. After she she left, I asked curiously, "What was that?" Jason said in a cold tone, "The store transfer contract, the Big Bear residence." I was smart enough not to ask any more questions. 2 weeks later, I was back in River City as if it was all a game. When I left, I was heartbroken, thinking I would never come back. But I was proven wrong in just 2 weeks. After getting off the plane, Jason held my hand and didn't go to the car. Instead, he led me to a place. "Does it look familiar?" he asked. I nodded. It was very familiar. "Wasn't this the place where Ryan parked his car?" He then said, "What do you think when you see this place now?" What did I think? I didn't think anything, unless he was asking my toes. Men who bring up the past are the hardest to deal with. Finally, I managed to drag him home. The housekeeper had already prepared dinner. I had just taken a bite when he somehow pulled out a silver needle and started testing the food for poison. As we all know, silver needles turn black when they come into contact with toxic substances. After he finished, he noticed me staring at him and explained, "It's the after effect of last thing." I didn't think it was the after effect. I figured he thought I had turned into a perfect wife, because I had been so cautious lately. I slammed my chopsticks on the table and said, "If you keep pretending you're sleeping alone tonight." He immediately fell silent and started eating obediently. Finally, I felt at ease. Before, when I was in River City, I was so afraid of hearing the sarcastic remarks from those so-called friends in the circle. I didn't dare to look at or reply to any of their messages. Now that I was making a grand return, I planned to attend all the parties, big or small. There were so many little dresses in my closet that it was almost bursting. Each one was my favorite, and they were perfect for wearing to parties. In the past, Jason would accompany me to parties, but in recent years, as his status grew, more and more people were trying to get close to him. Every party he attended seemed to have an ulterior motive. Gradually, I didn't like asking him to come with me, but I didn't know what had gotten into him lately. He was like a completely different person, becoming extremely clingy. He insisted on coming with me. I reluctantly took him along. As soon as we got out of the car, I was surrounded by a group of my so-called friends. "Honey, long time no see. Which country did you vacation in this time? Honey, your skin looks so good. You've become even more beautiful." On the surface, I remained calm, but inside, I was already screaming with excitement. The familiar smell of flattery was really intoxicating. "Honey, you haven't been out for so long. You know the Brown family's eldest daughter is back from abroad, and she's at this party too." Before I could secretly look for Lily, the girl they were talking about stepped forward on her own. "Hello, I'm Lily." As expected of the top-notch female lead, she had bright eyes and white teeth, and she was so elegant that she stood out from the people around her at a glance. She was truly a beauty. I took the initiative to reach out my hand and said, "Hello, I'm Luna." She shook my hand and smiled at me. Then she turned to Jason, who was standing aside like a backdrop, and said, "Jason." Jason nodded. Suddenly, everyone's eyes became a little strange. They still remembered the recent cooperation between the Jason group and the Brown group. The gap between the two groups was huge, but the Jason group chose to cooperate with the Brown group. The reason was undoubtedly related to love. At that time, everyone was guessing whether Jason had gotten tired of me and had something going on with this girl from the Brown family. But everyone in this circle was shrewd. Without confirmation, no one wanted to be the first to speak up. However, netizens online didn't care. They said whatever they wanted, so the people in the circle watched as the social media accounts of those who were discussing the most enthusiastically and making the most definite claims were blocked, and they were privately warned. They immediately understood. They had just managed to forget about this matter, but now all the parties involved were together. Their curious thoughts resurfaced. The host of this party was Miss Lee. As the hostess, she stepped forward to ease the awkward atmosphere. "What are you all standing here for? The main venue is inside. Let's go in and take a seat." This kind of relaxed themed party had always been my forte. After I sent Jason Jason to his seat. I stood up, ready to have a great time. Suddenly, someone grabbed my waist from behind and pulled me back forcefully, making me sit down again. I looked back angrily and shouted, "Jason!" He peeled a piece of candy and stuffed it into my mouth, saying, "Just wait a moment. Miss Lee loved to have fun. For this party, she set up a stage inside and invited several celebrities to perform." Suddenly, the screen at the back went black, and then the content that appeared was really inappropriate. The person in the video looked familiar. A girl sitting below screamed, "How could this be?" The person on the screen was supposed to be Lily. "Why is it me?" "Turn it off quickly. It's fake. It's all fake. Don't look." Lily walked over and slapped her. "I treated you like his sister, and this is how you repay me." I finally recognized her. She was that illegitimate daughter of the Brown family, Amy, who had tried to get close to Jason. "You treated me like his sister. If it weren't for you and your mother, my mother and father would have lived happily together. What kind of eldest daughter of the Brown family are you?" "I'm the real one." Lily slapped her hard again. "The daughter of a mistress is just like this, all looks and no brains. Even if you were the eldest daughter of the Brown family, so what? The Brown family's company will be inherited by me." Amy laughed. "Father won't give it to you. It's for me." Lily said, "Really?" Without waiting for her to answer, Lily loudly asked her father, "Mr. Brown, is that so?" "Dad." The news that Jason was coming had already spread, and the purpose of this party became even more complicated. There were a lot of people who shouldn't have been there. Now Mr. Brown was in a difficult situation. He had achieved his current position by relying on Lily's mother's family. If he didn't let Lily inherit the company, he could only imagine how badly people would scold him. But he had long been tired of relying on others and had wanted to get rid of this daughter for a long time. What he said now was extremely important. Just as everyone was happily watching the drama, a strange voice came. "It's just a small brown group. I'll buy it and give it to you as a toy." Who could be so overbearing? "Leo," Jason said indifferently, noticing my confusion. Right away, I knew he was the typical male lead with an imposing aura. As soon as Leo showed up, the whole place erupted in an uproar. Mr. Brown was speechless and tacitly agreed to let Lily inherit the company. The onlookers suddenly understood that this was Lily's boyfriend. It turned out that Jason was really crafty. The Leo group and the Jason group were like two big mountains in different places with little interaction. But if Mr. Jason cooperated with someone's girlfriend and Lily cooperated with the Leo group, wasn't it equivalent to the Jason group and the Leo group cooperating? It was really brilliant. Afterward, I'd asked Jason why he did all this. It seemed so random. He pinched my face, looking like he was being unappreciated. "Silly. Some things don't just go away if you don't explain them. As long as there's no explanation, whenever the parties involved meet, those thoughts will come back. At first, it's just a little bit, but later it will become more and more blamed." He said that if one day we had a fight and he happened to meet Lily, he was afraid that he wouldn't handle it well and I would see some unpleasant things. He said he wanted me to live a good life, not to live around a time bomb. It was better to completely get rid of the trouble than to just prevent it. Finally, he concluded, "It's still because I'm not good enough. If I were good enough, we wouldn't have fights or misunderstandings, and many things wouldn't have happened." I covered his mouth to stop him from talking and shook my head. "That's not true. Bickering is a part of life." Later, I found out that he was really scheming. Even without Jason's help, Lily would have found out about the illegitimate daughter issue sooner or later and could have solved it. But Jason just got involved and gained two favors, one from Lily and one from Leo. It was more than just killing two birds with one stone. It was like killing three birds with one stone. He also got rid of those who suspected that he had something going on with Lily. One day, when I was chatting with Lily, she said, "I've always known he was like this, but I didn't expect to be fooled by him again." I was confused. "Did he deceive you before?" Lily pouted and said, "He didn't have money to buy snacks, so he tricked me into giving all my snacks to you." I said, "You got food because of snacks." She looked a little embarrassed. "I'm a face control. What can I do?" She just liked good-looking people. Who else would he deceive if not her? When Jason was a kid, the only thing good about him was his face. Jason was lying on the bed, patting the spot next to him. He wasn't wearing a shirt, and he looked more charming than a seductive man. "Luna, besides my face, there's another another part of me that's great. Do you want to try? My face turned red and I pounced on him directly. Would I tease? Doing this at night?